Welcome back to another delightful episode of The Well Seasoned Librarian. We've reached season 15, and today marks our 20th installment time. Truly flies when you're surrounded by good stories and even better food. Today, our wonderful host, Dean Jones, is diving into the delicious world of effortless eating with the incredibly talented author and blogger, Jessica Merchant. Get ready as they chat about her latest cookbook, Easy Every Day, 100 recipes and meal prep ideas for effortless eats, and explore the vibrant flavors and inspiring ideas behind her wildly popular blog, How Sweet Eat. Jessica isn't just an author. She's a full-time recipe developer and writer whose passion for all things culinary is absolutely contagious. Ooh. Beyond Easy Every Day, she's also the brilliant mind behind Everyday Dinners, The Pretty Dish, and Seriously Delish. Oh. Millions of readers eagerly follow her kitchen adventures and delectable creations on How Sweet Eats. So, settle in, grab a snack you might get hungry, and get ready for a truly engaging conversation. Here's Dean.
Welcome to the program. Today I'm speaking with Jessica Merchant, whose new book, Easy Every Day, is out. Jessica, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's fantastic to have you on. I want to say congratulations on your new book, Easy Every Day. What was the initial spark that made you want to write specifically about effortless eating and meal prep this time around?
Thank you. This is my fourth cookbook, and my third cookbook was called Everyday Dinners. And it was the exact same concept, but it only focused on dinner. And it was really a hit with myself and my readers. And I wanted to take that same idea, but apply it to all meals. So this book is full of breakfast, lunch, dinner recipes, but also entertaining, snacks, drinks, desserts, a little bit of everything.
You've talked in the past about in interviews about hearing from readers a lot about the struggle to get food on the table without spending a fortune or feeling overwhelmed. Now, as somebody who's fed households, I totally understand that. How does Easy Everyday directly tackle those everyday challenges, and what is a unique resource in the world of meal prep cookbooks?
Yeah, I've dealt with it myself too because I have 3 younger kids. So
Yeah.
going through that, I've learned how to change things up for my own mealtime and, getting dinner on the table, getting breakfast on the table. So Easy Every Day is unique because it has a 10-minute meal prep strategy for every single recipe. So really everyone's busy. Nobody has a ton of time. So every single recipe has just a few things that you can prep. Some recipes, it might only be one thing, but you can prep in 10 minutes, and that can either be the day before, it can be the day of, just to help you make mealtime easier. So it kind of allows some of the recipes to be more of a, say, like dump and go recipe. So we already have things chopped or prepared or sauces made. And it really helps things come together, especially at dinner time when, it can be hectic and chaotic.
Now, the subtitle of the book is 100 Recipes and Meal Prep Ideas for Effortless Eats. Could you give us a sense of how the book is structured, and is it more focused on specific recipes, or does it have a more broader, holistic approach to meal prep as part of daily life?
Yes, it's definitely focused more on the recipes, but each recipe itself has some meal prep tips in them. So I have done the whole, meal prep on Sunday thing, fill up containers with the same 5 lunches and then prep the same 5 dinners for the week. And not only do I not love that way of eating throughout the week, I just don't have time to do that with having a busy family at the moment. So that 10-minute meal prep really helps in every single recipe because I know that I can just do a few specific things, but still have nourishing, delicious dishes throughout the week.
Now, I want to ask you about the idea of, you talk in your interviews about creating a happy table and making memories around food, which is something I think, everybody who cooks and has a family, we all want to do that. The ultimate goal is to have that space and time to be with your family and have a good time. How do you see easier cooking and meal prep contributing to a more enjoyable and less stressful mealtime experience for families?
That is how I grew up. My mom had dinner on the table for us every night, regardless of the time. Sometimes we would eat at 6, sometimes we would eat at like 9 p.m. And those
Yeah.
are some of my happiest memories. So I want to do that same thing with my family. Now I feel like it's a busier time than it was in the 90s. So making sure that I can have meals prepared, have meals planned, have them prepared, have a few things in my fridge that I can again make that time a little less stressful. So maybe we can't eat together 5 or 7 nights a week, but maybe there's 3 nights a week that we can, sit down, have a meal together, and everything is pretty much planned and halfway prepared that I can get the meal done quickly so we can enjoy more time at the table.
There was one thing that I really thought was very interesting in this. It's the 10-minute meal prep strategy. Can you give us a peek into that and what it involves? What are some quick things our listeners could start doing right away to save time and effort in the kitchen?
Yes. The first thing is either making like a quick sauce or a dressing that might either go with the meal or might live in your fridge for 3 to 5 days just to elevate leftovers or make a meal, more special or fancy or even keep for lunch. This could be something like hummus, a ranch dressing, vinaigrettes for salad. And then, of course, there's things like pre chopping vegetables. If you're going to make like fajitas, you can slice your peppers and onions a day or two ahead of time and keep them in the fridge. You can marinate chicken or steak ahead of time and keep it in the fridge. Easy things like that that really only take a few minutes, but just it eliminates having to pull out all of those ingredients and do that chopping or prepping right before the meal and makes a huge difference.
The book has some really fun recipe names like crispy baked breakfast quesadillas and cherry jalapeno chicken salad. What's your creative process like when you're developing recipes, especially with that focus on ease and using leftovers in clever ways?
I feel like I pull inspiration from absolutely everywhere. These days, I probably pull it most from my family and my kids. So I do have my kids in mind when I'm developing recipes. And I know that, my older son is pickier than my younger son. So I try to keep things easy and accessible and make sure that most of the flavors and most of the ingredients are something that they and mostly everyone will enjoy, and then maybe adding in one or two elements that's new or exciting or modernizes a recipe to make it a little different.
You've had success with other cookbooks, as you mentioned, this is your fourth. Like, I want to mention The Pretty Dish and Everyday Dinners. How does Easy Everyday build on that foundation, and what perspective or approach does it offer for your readers?
Easy Every Day is almost an extension of my third cookbook, Everyday Dinners. Again, that recipe really only focused on dinner recipes. And while I loved writing it and I use it all the time, I wanted to make sure that I could take those same concepts and apply them to every other meal we need to eat. So Easy Every Day has a ton of make ahead breakfasts and lunches that you can use for, school mornings, work days, things like that, along with a few snacks, a few drinks, a few, easy entertaining ideas that you can use to kind of bring together everything under that whole 30-minute meal strategy.
Now, I'm someone who feels completely daunted by the idea of meal prepping. So this was a really important to me because
Yeah.
I'm not somebody who naturally just does that. But I want to though, because I like you said, even though my son's 30, we still have a household of people, young people in it, and we have to do meal prep and stuff because like we don't get home till a certain amount of time. And if you have kids in like sports or band or whatever,
Right.
you're not getting home till late most days. So can you give us a few tips or suggestions that use easy every day to start incorporating these ideas into the routine?
Yes, my biggest tip, and this is what I follow in my everyday life, is I really only plan for 3 meals a week. So I only shop for 3 meals a week. I only plan for 3 meals a week because I always have like one or two easy meals that if we are home more, if we don't have leftovers, if we're not, getting pizza, that I can pull out. And one of those easy meals might be something like breakfast for dinner. It might be something, again, like getting pizza. But so by doing the 3 meals, it really eliminates waste. I feel like we're excited to eat those 3 meals. I'm not overwhelmed in trying to prepare ingredients. It's not like I'm trying to prepare 6 or 7 meals for the week, and that also might allow us some leftovers the next day or two, or even something for lunch, whether it's for me or my husband. And it really just takes a lot of the stress out of it because we're starting small. There's only a few things to prep for each. You can either do, some 10-minute meal prep each day, or you could do 20 or 30 minutes on one day and kind of combine it all and then have like 3 meals ready to go.
Your blog, How Sweet Eats, has such a loyal following. How has that online community influenced your approach to recipe development and what you've included in Easy Every Day?
My following and I have really grown together. I've been doing this for so long, almost 17 years. So it really is almost like a coming of age story. And we've all kind of grown together. And I feel like at first I would take recipes that maybe took a lot longer and put my own spin on them, or I would make things like homemade croissants or do something a little bit extra. And then as I had children and my, followers had families as well, I think things just progressively got a little bit easier, but how can we still make things, unique, delicious, simple, but less, again, chaotic. So we're not
Yeah.
going crazy, every time we have to feed a family of 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever it may be.
You touched on the idea of waste, and that's something that I always find just eminently frustrating because when you said like 3 meals a week, I'm like, that is genius. Because really, like when you try and do more, you just kind of flounder and you start like sputtering out, and like then you get all this waste and stuff. And it's really easy for things to become bad or not be viable by the end of the week after one shopping trip if you're doing these mega shopping trips like I usually do. So what you're saying really it really speaks to me. Can you talk about other things like grocery shopping and your approach to that as far as reducing waste? Because I've found that something that like is really important and really something we have to deal with all the time.
Yes, definitely the 3 meals a week is huge, and that helps eliminate a lot of the waste, and that just comes from even my own personal feeling of I don't want to prepare what I'm gonna eat on Friday. I don't wanna prepare it on Sunday. I don't know how I'm gonna feel. I don't know what I'm going to wanna eat. So that's why I like to stick to the 3 meals, and I also wanna be able to, I guess for lack of a better word, honor the requests of my kids. If my
Yeah.
son's like, "Oh, I want tacos tonight," or could you make this tonight? Because I love that. I want to do that because I want them to be excited about food. So that's why I really stick to having the 3 meals prepared. And having that means that I already have pretty much of a grocery list in, my phone. I have a running list of things that we always have on hand. My kids are young, they go through a ton of like fruit and berries and I might need to do 2 shopping trips for fresh produce. I might need to get a few fresh things for them, but usually I can stick to once a week. And then again, I have a list of maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 recipes that are just easy everyday things that people might eat. And, easy everyday could become one of those recipes. Again, things like breakfast for dinner, a quick little, omelet, something that's simple. So if we run out of those 3 meals, if we run out of ingredients for the week or groceries for the week, I know that I always have that stuff on hand.
Now, Easy Eats comes out on no, sorry, Easy Every Day. I apologize. Comes out on April 15th. I imagine you're really excited. I imagine you're really anticipating this. What are you most excited for the readers to discover and experience from this book?
I just love seeing everybody cook new recipes from the book. I think it's super exciting now that we have social media. I'm able to see them get the book and the same day make a recipe from the book. I've also had readers that have gone through my full entire books and, over the course of a year, cooked every single recipe from them. And that is just so exciting. It really builds a sense of community, but it's also, again, like an honor for that. I think they do that and they want to enjoy their mealtime with my recipes.
Jessica, I want to thank you for being on the podcast. Easy Every Day comes out on April 17th. I want to urge everybody to go to the links and purchase it, or you can get it through better bookstores. Jessica, thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that brings us to the close of another insightful episode of Well Seasoned Librarian. A huge thank you to the wonderful Jessica Merchant for joining our host, Dean Jones, today to chat about her fantastic book, Easy Every Day, 100 Recipes and Meal Prep Ideas for Effortless Eats A Cookbook, and her engaging blog, How Sweet Eats. If Jessica's passion for all things food has whetted your appetite for delicious and easy recipes, you can grab your own copy of Easy Every Day by following the links you'll find in the show notes or our bio. Get ready to simplify your kitchen adventures until our next chapter unfolds. Farewell, and we will see you in the library.